The downfall of Numenor. He entered Delta in the Universe. Kaiserreich is said to have its own Lord of the Rings. The downfall of Numenor noted the story of the destruction of the mythical kingdom Island of Numenor, whose inhabitants set out to liberate the continent of Middle-earth from the reign of the Dark Lord Sauron, but in the end fell victim to its own weakness and corruption, and the gods and the pro-Iceland beneath the uncaring weight of the sea. Only a small band of men still loyal to the gods were able to choose the category of the Sinking Nation to found new land in distant lands. With that said, one can see the parallel with the British Revolution from Kaiserreich in his book, a fact that Tolkien himself denied, just as he did not allow the ring was an analog to World War I in our timeline. German Great. Great used to be a German colony at the start of the game. Profitable with the most strategically valuable mountain in German hands at the time, say Allied could be used to aid the risks of the Ottomans. Audie Murphy. Audie Murphy, America's most decorated soldier in World War II, was a strategy general for the American Union States. He is a late problem, as Murphy would be 11 years old once the conflict broke out. He was also the second best general for the longest behind Patton, so he was exactly an obscure kid. Soyuz Murphy, which is put as Russia, transcendentally Captain and Bulgarian. Later will be a focus called Soyuz Murphy, in which create animation studio that with many artists across the world, and one of the countries to mention in the focus is Japan. So, try it! Run from it! Soviet anime nonetheless! Hasbro significant portrait. The radio user, very to the form, was told to the actual Habsburg family about Kaiserreich and painted a print of the portrait of the bicycle by Paul Habsburg. As a fun fact, Otto Habsburg died at 2011, while the version of Darkest Sauron already exists. Ever pleased his mom. In the aforementioned while continuing monarchy path, it was possible for the king's brother, Sigismund, to go for Macbeth and kill the king during a play with a bomb. He would then betray the host's father and attempt to align with Russia. Mediterranean bloc. As Carlos Spain, she can proclaim an alliance with Portugal, national France, Italy, and Croatia. Also, it was possible to restore the host Stuart in the British throne if you choose the option to set up a military government as Jules IV, of agreement of the throne of Stuart as Carlos Spain. Yasuhito. In the Darkest Hour version, Hirohito was said to face an assassination attempt if Japan went down to the restorationist road. If he died, Prince Chichibu would become regent. He could continue to serve in his capacity or instead proclaim himself as new emperor. For his death in the church, Akihito would ascend to the throne. Boris Stormman. You may know that Kensuke was said to die at the tower of February, but did you know that the news of his death would lead to the death of another? Boris Stormman was for some reason still alive in 1936 and he would die shortly after Kerensky. He chose he as the top of the game for his Iron Fisted portrait. His prompt there was quite a troll. Superga disaster. He referred to an event in which, regardless of their private fortunes, every single totalist Italian politician would die in a plane crash in 1949. Post-Wrangler. Persavicon may be one of the most iconic characters of Kaiserreich today. But the prior national population for Russia ever since the Alta Russia, as a matter of fact, was Piotr Wrangel. In Wrangler's case, the nickname was the modern military dictator option. Wrangel was exceptionally dynamic in the stage as boss, restored the Romanoffs, or proclaimed himself as Tsar. Balkanized France. I say France separate Brittany from France. One could have the option to completely dismantle France as factorly. Normandy and Occitania could be broken off as well, or brutality France in the same way as you can win Germany if you play either win national or syndicalist France if you won the war towards Germany. Naval Tech Divergence. Released a while term, the Naval Tech theory of Kaiserreich was completely different. To simulate the prominence of terrestrial warfare, the entire Navy aspect of the map was revamped. His drop after a few years and having to maintain his change a very routine was seen as not working. Here is kamikazes. In a total war mobilization that would make a standing approach, it was a book that allowed Iran to complete its entire population. Now, as people equally ridiculous the kamikaze plan that Iran could also deploy in an event of war. Various Transcaucasia. The Benty Belly was the leader of the activity and had an infamous reputation by starting what is now as the Red Terror in Ortanium was the totalish option for Georgia. If Armenia and Azerbaijan were conquered, then the Caucasus could be formed. Bonus point when studying as an interior minister with the APT efficient sociopath trait. Mostly posting. What the Socratic was but as spring chicken, well the earliest and most enduring means was simply posting a ton about Oswald Mosley. You really had to be there to see it. It was an enduring topic that encapsulated the sub. Hearts of Iron 2 version. The Hearts of Iron 2 version was where after Russia evolved into Kaiserreich. This version is quite a time capsule. The first version available for download is the 1.3, released in 2011, and although it has some updated graphics, it maintains its charm. 69 wife beaters. In the Darkest Hour version, the American Union State used to have the 8th chief militia named the 69 wife beaters. Before it was completely removed, it was briefly renamed to the 69 wife lovers. The Crown Autonomy, regarded as one of the best Kaiserreich AARs ever, if not the best, the Crown Autonomy takes a mundane topic, a Canada-Germany Cold War, and actually does something with it. Lasting from 2015 to 2018, the AAR had quality storytelling, a varied collection of custom content, and a stunning graphic to boot. I highly recommend to check it out. Ruling Russian royalty. Imagine the same way that Germany could form its own royal family upon conquering foes, so too could the Romanovs. This is a mere sample size of what they could do. Theoretically, the only nation they can impose a monarch over is Germany and Prussia. Balkanized China. Before what the blunt the chances out there in the Darkest Hour version, it was possible to spread out China way more than we can do today. Mainlands could be turned into a whole republic, Yunnan could be released into an independent Greater Yunnan with the territories of Sichuan, and the entire countries of the Yellow River could be broken into a one-share republic with Wang Jingwei as its leader. All Savvun flag. Many years ago, Savvun had a very different flag. Instead of the tricolor with the horn and sword, Savvun used to have a red flag with a white circle, which had the symbol of the hand of gods used by Slavic pagans. See the old flag design, it's not surprising why it was changed, and I hope that YouTube don't destroy my channel by showing his awkward symbol. Tian Empire. Back in old China, the cultists had a rather specific path that could be into a proclamation of a new empire. They first had to grant special treatment to auspicious refugees. Once altered China was reunited under Germany, they then had the option to proclaim a Tian Empire. When the emperor came of age, he would reign with Zhou Enlai as premier. Reagan's regeneration. So you may note that there was once a event about Ronald Reagan's death, but did you know that it was permanent? Come 1947 and he showed up in the Pacific State Ministries as if nothing happened. Digimon 98. Digimon 98 was a season of Erlash Castle which who had posted a ton of posts, particularly questions. How many were? At least Digimon 98 has posted hundreds if not thousands of or make asking questions in the past of the years, only stopping a years ago. Most of his questions were about very specific things, and as a fun fact, the creator of his Iceberg, ET37, wanted to answer some of his questions. Stanberg's son. If the same against Stanberg ruling Mongolia reached a fever pitch, then the Matt Barrow would go down in a blaze of glory. Afterwards, it was possible for either his wife or his young son to take place as figurehead. Now, at the end of his book, apparently Sternberg reproduced via osmosis because the title against his cantator is literally just a photo of Sternberg as a kid. Shadow of Kaiserreich. Some years ago, a man made a millennium down as Kaiserreich mod called the Shadow of Kaiserreich. I can attest to the quality of the mod, but it had Arnold Schwarzenegger as leader of the Pacific State, so takes out the EP as I said. Following updates, when the mod was first posted to Hearts of Iron 4, there will be another Halloween update. The changes were only deported to make the leader look like horror character, but it was a nice touch to celebrate the season. Chancellor von Richthofen. The Red Baron himself was once an option of Chancellor of the German Empire. You had to play all the way to 1952 and like the Aldeutsche Verband, and he beat the Mother Pig. A neat piece of lore, even if it was rotten in the late game. Goebbels Rhineland. In case Germany lost a war towards any national population at Popper Rhineland, its leader was none other than Joseph Goebbels, and his whole cabinet was filled with people who were Nazi in Northern as well, with Albert Speer notably as head of government. Heather Mitchell. In the Dark South version, one of the generals that Canada used to head was Sir Anthony Cecil Howard May Mitchell, a fictional character from the British television series set during World War I called Blackadder. Fritz Kuhn, before for long was shifted to National Populist, and before Ballet there was Fritz Kuhn, the leader of the German-American band in Northern Line. He could edit the game power via bot or by code, but it was exceptionally rare to ever see the AI do his route. As his power was removed in the Dark South version and never made it into Hearts of Iron 4, his path is quite a relic. All Wiki. Created way back in 2007, the Perfect Kaiserreich Wiki is a super home. It's a treasure of ancient lore. The primary website is quite dilapidated and rather tricky to navigate. If you want to check, I recommend viewing it via the Wayback Machine. It's quite surreal to see it all. German Union. In a rather specific circumstance that Germany and Union were at war and Germany conquered it, they could straight Ukraine the entirety of Union region as imperial territory with no penalty incurred. UK. The American Union State once had Francis Joke as minister. Things that don't make much sense because at the time where the Second American Civil War happens, Joke was only 90 years old. Syndicalist Middle Africa. If governments do all the construction projects and successfully peace of the natives could cope him and establish a syndicalist state in Middle Africa. His syndicalist superstate could either maintain its side or split it between Namibia, ever colony which is in the Gulf of Guinea plus the Central African Republic, and East Africa with the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Zambia and Malawi. German Union. Before the German state and the German Socialist Republic, there was the German Union. It came in socially, nationally, or democratic flavor, with surprising amount of content for each route. Highlights include the social liberal Erwin Rommel and the national populist dealing with Ernest Ross sexuality. Juan Xin's part of divergence. For the Logenstein, the starting leader of the Republic of China was Juan Xin. He is significant because Juan historically died on October 31 of 1916, a whole human before Kaiserreich supports all of divergence. Now, I am not the one to buy into the whole China Reich allegation, but the more actual point divergence until 2018 by a Chinese guy not die is actually hilarious. Salifian Caliphate. You may not know, but Turkestan was once able to proclaim a caliphate, but it was also able to convince the Hashemite to do so. If they accept the Salifian Caliphate would be proclaimed, just changing the Ottomans. Mao Zedong. In the very early version of the mod, Mao Zedong was not there, but in Taiwan. If only it can happen if Taiwan is liberated as a puppet of any syndicalist nation. Himre fried chicken merged, back to the point where Himre becomes a chicken farmer. In that time, the Baltic fried chicken merchandise was briefly a thing. No, I am serious. Original Kaiserreich website. This may come as a surprise, but Kaiserreich said to have its own proper website. By forum ranging from mod development to AI art were hosted here, and it looked to be pretty tight-knit. Unfortunately, they said closed the website it was to host it, with the community dispersing to either Discord already as a result. Harold Turtle characters. Harold Turtle is a writing famous known for his books about alternative history that made him known by many as the father of alternative history with other authors like Felix K. Dick. In Kaiserreich, particularly in its early version, two of his characters could be found in the mod. These characters are Flora Blackford, a former minister of the Communist City, and a character from the Sword of Victory series, and Liu Han, a former minister of the Fentian Clique, and a character from the World War series. Venezuela for Break Wall. In older Kaiserreich, Latin America used to have a decent amount of content going into the 50s and 60s. If for some reason you decide to play Venezuela all the way to 1961, you'll be tilted into an lecture basically you all directly. Lawrence in Arabia. Before he was a Canadian spy and before he was a syndicalist war hero, D.E. Lawrence went native living in Hashima, Arabia as its Minister of Intelligence. Ottoman Sicily. He probably the most circumstantial releasable nation ever. To get his releasable you need to do firstly, Italy had to be united under the Federation and not be a link with the Ottomans. For their part, the Ottomans had to withdraw their war and be a war with Italy. If the Ottomans somehow land in Sicily, then a peace deal would be triggered. Afterward, the Ottomans could either occupy the island or create a puppet in either monarchy or republic favors. Prussian Revolt. This project was puppeted by France and the second attack the celebration hall, then a counter-revolution would take place. If France was too worried to intervene, then a new Prussian government would be chosen. Prussia would then attempt to align itself with a foreign faction before launching a war to reunite Germany. His, as you may guess, would be incredibly difficult to pull off as merely Prussia against the entire Third International. If successful as a monarchy, he would be actually the fastest way to get Wilhelm IV as Kaiser. Longest Quentin Roosevelt. Before he was the vice president of any terrorist candidate, Quentin Roosevelt was, according to the old Kaiserreich lore, a supporter of Wilhelm. No, you may think that he's merely that, a lore tip that has no bearing on gameplay, until you check the tech companies for the American Union State and see that Quentin Roosevelt was an option for plain research. Only now, he only will be available from 1943 onward, so he won't be noticeable as such right away. Castle Cuba. In a surprisingly comprehensive adventure for Cuba in the 1950s, it was once possible to get a center brother tour in charge of Cuba. If not socially dictatorial, the people would demand reform in 1953. There would then be an inciting massacre that led to an attempted revolution, and then the rest would lead to the government's victory. A show trial of Fidel Castro would ensue, potentially lead to his execution. The remaining Cuban revolutionaries would fare apart, taking years to reconsolidate. There would be a Bay of Peace incident, with multiple events potentially lead to Havana capture. The Castro's brother, assuming Fidel was executed, will then assume leadership of the country. See what I mean when I say that Latin America used to have some wildly expensive content so late in the game? Brazilian King of Hungary. This may shock you, but once upon a time, independent Hungary had content. You could choose to be a republic or a monarchy, and the latter option had a staggeringly outcome. One option was Don Luis Gastão, a German Brazilian priest and grandson of Don Pedro II. MacArthur avoided the Second American Civil War. There is a superbly bruised book in the darkest version of the mode, where MacArthur can straight up avoid the Civil War. For make the book happens, first, You must invite the military to lead the country. Choose the his and still a democracy option and then pass the act option. Eventually, you'll get an event about protests. Lift the ban and you'll move one state to authoritarian, turning the nation into a paternal autocracy. Thus avoiding the 1936 presidential election event, which only failed if you moved to democracy, thus becoming a democracy. It is the result of an unintended oversight, but seeing MacArthur, Blunt, Moseley, Crowley, and Eisenhower in the same cabinet is quite surreal. Red Glory. If you try to search Kaiserreich Red Glory, you will stumble upon his tweet from 2013, linking to YouTube website that no longer exists. The website is the aforementioned original Kaiserreich website, and the subject of the post was fascinating indeed. A Kaiserreich FPS? Set in as the steampunk 1980s where the German Empire and the combined syndicate are located in a Cold War? It all seemed too good to be true, and while it is, he was the first ever Kaiserreich April Fools. If you know of Red Glory, then you already know that. What you may not know was that even the act was merely a reversal from one red thumb way back in 2008. Still, I am 100% down for his idea being a tangible project one day. Crusoe English Dual Monarchy. Some of you may recall that Wilhelm III's son, Louis Ferdinand, could impose over a defeated Russia as Ivan VII. Others that are still likely to award that a defeated Britain may have just Edward imposed. There is a route that still exists to his day after all. However, if you decide to balkanize Britain, then the king possessor of England would be Charles Edwards, but Louis Ferdinand? Yes, if you conquer both Britain and Russia as Germany, Louis Ferdinand could reign as king and say simultaneously. West Coast Federation. In exactly one of the mod, we buy in the third beta version, the Pacific State was known as the West Coast Federation. It was here that a good part was planned, and a national popular cooperative dictatorship led the West Coast elite. His route was clear, but the initial military sector began in the more over a decade. Manchukuo, the other rendition of China in Kaiserreich, way back in its early original beta, was surprisingly similar. The AOG, Taik Yunnan, Delegation City, King, they were altered, but two sharing different exist. One is the Fentia was straight up Manchukuo with Puji in charge. Stranger still, the king was led by Puji's father. I heard of familiar drama, but that takes the cake. Here's a word crack. One of the other Kaiserreich errors that you can still see is entirety over Paradox Plaza. Most ancient errors no longer have valuable images. Also, WordClip impressed further stirred by being a total conversion error, and visualizing the Kaiserreich universe in the 21st century. It is relatively short as far as ergo, but it is a well-inspired set of concepts alone and well looked through. Has a far through version. It said that in the final week of the original Kaiserreich website, a full feed appeared to announce his project. One that was very ambitious but laborious. About something that even the developer themselves has abandoned. For the Kaiserreich to Hearts of Iron 3. Hearts of Iron 3 was a flawed release, unsuitable for extensive modifications, but despite his impossible. During the development of his port to Hearts of Iron 3, progress was made, albeit modest, with the map itself nearly terraformed. Unfortunately, the announcement of Hearts of Iron 4, which the developer hoped to mod, led to the cancellation of the Hearts of Iron 3 port, leaving it as an ambitious project that never materialized. Kaiser Depth Invasion. If you were to open up the console commands on either the Hearts of Iron 3 or Darkest Hour version and type in Alien Attack for this ID number, and support will be Alien Attack 722, a rather horrifying fate awaits you. Your game will be invaded by the Depth Team. The lore was incomprehensible, and yet the project stagnate unkillable. It made for a rather terrifying challenge, a pro-dimension mod so to speak. The Ballad of Mullah Hashim. At his point, Jorel disseminated to Kaiserreich, from the hilarious to the most unknown. But I want to conductor is so obscure that I have seen no one saw anywhere to speak of it. Even the creator of his paper, which had many gems, his topic than me, didn't know about his rabbit hole until recently. If you were to play either the Hearts of Furniture or the Darkest Soul or version a liberal Sarawak on the especially an authoritarian democratic government, you will be greeted by his minister list. The heads of state and the head of government are a truly bizarre case. Both men are Indians who never set a foot in Sarawak. Mullah Bakar was a musician who died in 1896, while Hashim Madami was a Sufi teacher who died in 1907. As you can surmise, both men bleak the timeline. Hashim was deputized during the Indian Rebellion of 1857 will be very likely be a centennial by Game Star. Now, if just a figure stay in older version of the mod as a trans relic, then that be that. And indeed, Maulana made it to Hearts of Final 4. Hashi, on the other hand, is another story. Sarawak didn't exist in the earliest version of the Hearts of Final 4 mod, but when it was added, so too was the entire Sarawak immediately from the Darkest South version. Save for the head of state. Sarawak is not major, so its final details were left to the wayside for a long time. How long? Well, Hashi stayed in the mod 5 is until the 0.21 one advisor reward in 2022. In simple words, until little as 4 years ago, an individual that died a decade before for the mod's point of divergence was in the game. So that's it. Honestly, his video and the previous one were really hard to make. I'm sorry if I had to delay it several times. Simply I had some complications that made the video take longer to release, like re-recording to make my voice sound smoother. Put it aside, I want to thank you for all the support the channel has received this year. We already have more than 2,000 subscribers and we have reached 2,050 subscribers. If you want to continue supporting the channel, find the video for like depth of other fictional nature for mods or the series or even other types of video like this one, I recommend you to like, share and subscribe to the channel for future content. Otherwise, Didi is going to go off from under your bed and I catch you. Do you think he is a joke? I see every single subscriber name, one by one. Checking aside, I really like you to tell what I recommend. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and that you have a great 2026. Bye.